Best way to start with this is to talk about where we are in college football. And we're in a really interesting place and also kind of a preposterous place with the 12-team playoff coming into function later this year and a real big conversation about what the future of the sport is going to be. And I want to talk about that as it denotes the Pac-12, as it denotes the Mountain West, and whatever College Sports Tomorrow thinks they're going to do. Let's start with this question, or story, not a question. So the body is having an argument about who should be in charge, okay? Naturally, the brain says, I do all the thinking. I should be in charge. Everybody knows this. What are you going to do if I'm not thinking for you? To which the heart says, that's preposterous. I send blood to all the places that matter, including you, brain. I should be the person that is 100% in charge. If I'm not pumping blood, the body doesn't function. To which the feet thought, y'all are all idiots. Because even if the brain's thinking and the heart is pumping blood, you're not going anywhere if the feet don't carry you. You just can't get there. You're going to stay put, and you're going to sit there and you're going to rot. Well, then the butthole spoke up, and the butthole said, I think I should be the guy that's leading the charge, head of the body, if you will. To which the heart, the brain, the feet, they all just laughed at the butthole. They said, there ain't no way in hell that the butthole is going to be in charge of the body. And the butthole, well, he took some offense to that and pouted, pinched, and he snapped shut. His feelings had been hurt. So after a couple of days of this, with the heart and the feet and the brain still arguing about who should be in charge, well, the brain wasn't thinking so good. And the heart wasn't doing too good a job of pumping blood throughout the body, and the feet were going nowhere because, well, the butthole had decided he was going to be a stopgap. He was pinched shut. You'd hurt his feelings. And after all this is done, we're getting at this point where brain is not feeling good. We're going a week into this. The heart is going, I can't continue to pump blood if I can't expel. And the feet are going, I'm so swollen, I can't even move here. I can't even think. Just goes to show, you ain't got to be smart. You ain't got to be passionate. You ain't even got to have any speed to be in charge. To be in charge, all you got to be is a butthole. And that's kind of where it feels like we are with college football, because the folks that have some good, sound opinions about what the sport should be aren't being listened to. And we're reaching a point in college football where, quiet as it is kept, everybody's compromising. Okay? This is not a sport that really likes a tie. I mean, we have them, but we don't like them. We will, from time to time, have a national champ over here and a national champ over there, and we'll give that award out, but we don't like it. Most of the time, you or I are going to say, hey, 2004 Auburn, I'm sorry about you, but you're not the national champ, right? Meanwhile, we got this college football playoff that people were against when it got formed, but it became a thing that was okay because, well, we have a selection committee that is able to pick out the best 4 teams to play. And then in the final year of the 4-team playoff, we have the kind of ignominy, the kind of stupidity, the kind of ridiculousness that everybody feared with the 4-team playoff, which is you're going to have a team that by most metrics is going to be qualified for the college football playoff. They will have won a major conference championship, and they will be undefeated, and you'll leave them out. And we're going, that can't happen. The odds of something like that happening are nil. Well, no, they're not. There was a non-zero chance that it was going to happen, and it happened to Florida State. So while people are really dancing on Florida State's grade from 2023 based on what they're doing in 2024, one of the things that I was looking at is, wait a second, look at what we did. We still managed to mess this up. We still managed to mess this up because somebody decided to be a butthole and just not put Florida State in there, put Alabama in there. Well, RJ was a better game. That may be true, but you know what you're going to get now? You're going to get even worse games with the 12-team playoff while we get to a bona fide, unanimous national champion because we're going to have a tournament. So I'm taking a look at the playoff projections as I put them out. And one of the things that I wanted to point out about the playoff projections as I pointed them out is kind of how this is going to really become a problem in the not too distant future. I mean, this year. So I did a top 25, and from my top 25, I have seeded 12 teams for the college football playoff. And this is a piece that you'll read on foxsports.com. It's a piece that I think, depending on how you like, you're going to keep doing it. But I thought it was a thought exercise that was worthwhile, especially as we get ready for not this week, which slate of games is not great, but next week, which slate of games is amazing. And we're going to start to see some moving and shaking here. So allow me to just go through this right quick. For those of you that do not remember, the 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4 and will receive a first round bye. The 5th conference champion will be seeded as it was ranked or at number 12 if it was ranked outside of the top 12 teams. Non-conference champs ranked in the top 4 will be seeded beginning at number 5, right? Then the 8 seeded teams, 5 through 12, will play a first round game with the higher seed hosting the lower seed, either on campus or at other sites designated by the higher seed institution. So, I don't know why you would do this, but if you were, say, James Madison, and you wanted to have your game at wherever University of Virginia plays their games, or let's use a stadium that I actually know. Let's use Florida. Let's use Doak Campbell. They ain't gonna be using it. You want to have your home game at Doak Campbell. You could do that, right? If the Doak Campbell would allow you in there. Although I don't know that I would be that mean. So knowing all of that, take a look at the 12 seeds. And if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing to the channel. 111,000 subscribers as you got here. What I've come to find out is 61% of the people that watch this show don't subscribe, so consider subscribing. At number 12, I got Boise State, which I think would be the highest ranked group of 5 champion, one of those that would not get a first round bye. At number 5, I got Texas, who I think would finish as the SEC champion based on Alabama being the number 1 overall seed, right? That game would feature Ashton Jeanty, who's on pace for 2,500 rush yards and 39 TDs. But, we all think that Texas would stomp a mud hole in Boise State and walk it dry if Texas got to host that home game. And I think that's actually the cool spot to be, and I'll explain why a little bit later on. And then, taking a little bit further look down at number 8, I got Penn State, who I think would be, at least according to the rankings, the Big Ten championship runner-up. And then ACC championship runner-up would be number 9. That's Clemson. So that's your 8-9 matchup, which means Clemson would go to Beaver Stadium, which I got to tell you would be a lot of fun. And then the number 10 seed would be the University of Oregon, who I would have playing against number 7 Georgia. So Oregon would be going to Georgia as one of the best of the 12 teams, right? A team that finished just outside of the Big Ten championship, but wasn't able to, play in the championship game. So third best team in the Big Ten. And then they'd be playing against the third best team in the SEC, which right now feels like Georgia. So that'd be Oregon at Georgia. And then 11, I would have Michigan going to Tennessee. Michigan being, at least right now, the third best team in the Big Ten. These things are going to change. I'm certain of it because we got some outstanding games coming up. But it's a fun thought exercise to put through and to really try to see what this would look like and how this is going to go. The reason that I told you the butthole story is because it doesn't much matter that Alabama has the bye week and then they'll get Penn State or Clemson, or that Ohio State has the bye week and then they will get Oregon or Georgia, or that Miami would have the bye week as ACC champ and then they would get Michigan or Tennessee. And then it does matter to me that Iowa State would have the bye week and probably get Texas, because Texas, Boise State. Because if you look at the bracket, 4 versus 5 is probably going to happen because we do not expect Boise State or UNLV or Liberty to really be good enough to beat the number 5 seed, which is probably going to be Georgia or Texas at this point. That's how it's shaken out. Looking at the rest of the field, it certainly feels like I would rather be the number 5 team because I would be able to host the first ever playoff game at a home site in history against a team that I feel I'm probably going to be a 3-touchdown favorite against. Think about what that means for your university, what that means for your legacy, and what it means to be able to put that kind of score on the board going into what will be a neutral site game, despite Iowa State at this point being the 4 seed. Because that's what I'm really thinking about. Like, the Big 12 champion is probably going to be ranked number 4 here. We don't think that they're that good. However, Miami has shown us that they can lose to Va Tech because they tried to, and then the officials gave it back to them. We're talking about the third best team in the ACC being Duke, who is undefeated, but still Duke. Okay? Second best team being Clemson. I don't know that I would want to be the 4 seed here. And I think that it would be worth talking out loud about whether or not the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will manipulate the seeds in their final ranking so that this doesn't seem so out of whack and out of character. However, who would want to be the 7th seed or the 6th seed or even the 11th seed if they knew that these were going to be manipulated? Because these are things that we talk about. We put numbers next to teams and they mean something. That's why we rank them. But I'm curious about how we are getting to this place where I would really love the butthole to unclench and to say, hey, look, if you are the number 4 seed or the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed or number 3 seed for number 4 seed, start with the number 1 and work way down. If you're Alabama, would you rather, again, we're playing would you rather like middle school, would you rather host Boise State at Bryant-Denny in a first-round playoff game and give up your bye week, or you would have to wait on the outcome of said game in 8-9 so that you could play Penn State or Clemson on a neutral site. I, for one, I think I would pick playing the extra game because even if I am, say, Texas, I'm going to get the number 4 team off a bye, sure. But after that, I'm getting everybody else off of a win where they had to play a game. So that bye week no longer matters because the bye week is only important for the week following. It's not important for the rest of the year, not as far as we're concerned, because outcomes are outcomes and the labor on the body is the labor on the body. Recovering from a week of getting hit is different from recovering from a week or 2 weeks of getting hit. So there's that. I don't think that really people were giving this a lot of thought when they saw what these could look like, which is why we're doing the playoff projection right now. I am curious what you think, because I, again, would love to be the number 5 seed and be able to basically run roughshod before I get to the number 1 team in the country who's going to be coming off of a win but also a game that they had to play. Feels like the spot to be in. And it would also add a little bit more, I think, flair, if you will, to the process. Because if you are, say, Alabama, and you are willing to drop down to the 5 seed or take that matchup, you would also be saying, Boise State, I pick you. I want to fight you. I don't want to take the bye week. I want to fight you. And in doing so, everybody else is going to say, yo, dog, are you really punching down? And to which Alabama would say, or I would say, nah, I'm trying to win the national championship. And this feels like the easiest road to winning the national championship. Not really that interested in taking the hard road unless you are. Maybe you are a part of a D&D cohort who is on an honor run in Baldur's Gate 3, where you've just decided, hey, if we die like men. But we are going to chase the gold die. We are going to be this group of people that has decided we want the toughest road imaginable. We want to be what Owen Wilson was describing in Armageddon, just the toughest environment imaginable. Give it to us. Maybe so you could say, hey, not only are we the national champs, we took the hardest possible path to becoming the national champs, and now you have to consider us as one of the best teams in all of sport for history, right? This is cool in as far as I get to talk about it. But I can't imagine what it would be like for an Alabama fan to say, damn, really? Did we just pick Boise State? Did we just cower? And then everybody else get to tell you as an Alabama fan, that's exactly what you did. Find that really fascinating. Let me know what you think in the chat and later in the replay in the comments below. That leads me to another observation. So the SEC and the Big Ten have already begun pushing to have 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff. Well, right now, there are only 12 teams in the college football playoff, and we know the conference champions are going to get in from the Power 4. I think this is, 1, right on time, and 2, going to happen for one major reason. It is going to be almost impossible for the College Football Playoff Selection Committee to put together a bracket that does not have a conference game or 2 on the way to the national championship. What I mean by that is it's easy for us to see Ohio State and Oregon having to play again in the semifinal of a college football playoff. It is easy for us to see Georgia and Alabama having to play again in the semifinal of a 12-team college football playoff. And more to the point, we've already grown used to this as an idea because we watched the 2022 national championship game, which was not only basically the SEC championship, but a regular season game, depending on the year, for Alabama and Georgia, and it was fine. Everybody agreed that those were the 2 best teams even before they made it to the national championship game, and then it was what it was. I think if you want to have some variation in your playoff bracket, you're going to have to extend it, which means that you're going to have to do what I told you you should do 5 years ago, which is have a 16-team playoff. But again, back to compromise. What I wanted was all of the conferences that have conference champs to have their conference champ automatically qualify, kind of like the NCAA tournament, to which everybody continues to tell me that's too many teams. Well, the same people that said too many teams are also having a compromise because they thought 4 was too many teams. They just wanted to see the 2 best teams play, and they didn't want to see anybody penalized for that. What we found is at least 3 teams are always supposed to be there, right? There are always 3 teams that we feel like can win the national championship, but we got to have a 4th team in there to have a fair fight, right? Now, we're getting both of those. We're getting into the 16 team, but we're going to get there probably with 4 automatic bids from the SEC and the Big Ten, which gives us 8. And then you have your Notre Dame spot, right, which gives us another team that could get in, but somebody could steal that when you have your Group of 5 champion. This is going to be really fascinating when we get to 2026 because we're going to have 2 years of data to show us whether or not the 12-team playoff works as is presented. I've already outlined a conversation for you where we can just, see how this might not work. Again, if you're watching the show, please like the live show and like the replay. I realize that right now we're up at triple digits. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm talking to you. And if you're in the replay, I'm still talking to you. I would love to see 4 teams from the SEC and 4 teams from the Big Ten get automatic qualification, and then perhaps you get 6 from either 2 because maybe they're just that good. And if you look at the SEC, you can really go quite a ways before you feel like you have a team that absolutely positively could not be in a college football playoff of 12 teams. And in the Big Ten, you probably get to 4, right? Pretty easily. So every year I think you're going to be able to get to 4 in the SEC and the Big Ten, and nobody's going to feel bad about that. Where we have a fly in the ointment is a little bit later when I do a segment about, pretenders and contenders. But this makes room for that if you have a 16-team playoff because, well, you could get your blue bloods in if you think they deserve to be in. You got a 9-win Ohio State. You got a 9-win Georgia. Maybe you want to put them in as the 15th and 14th seeds, which I tell you, we would all watch. And that's also going to be a thing that we have to pay attention to. How many people watch these first-round games, especially the 5-12 matchup? Do you really want to watch? Let's remove Texas from the equation. Georgia beat up on Boise State, or Georgia beat up on UNLV, or Alabama beat up on Air Force, or Tennessee. Let's choose the Big Ten team. Michigan have to go play North Texas. I don't know that we would do that. We would want to do that, but you know what? We will do it because that's basically a non-conference game to start the season. That's what that is. There's no difference. It's just one is going to get you further along in the bracket to win the national championship, and you get to call yourself a playoff team. In that way, it kind of comes to resemble the NFL, which, we could talk about for some time as being a bad model or a good model. But I'm going to give you an example here in this next segment about how it's a bad model, okay? And I need you to follow me on this because, well, we're going to need to go to school for just a little bit, but I promise it's not going to get as wonky as it could have. But I need to start with this abomination that College Sports Tomorrow came up with, that they have the nerve to call the College Student Football League. Okay, first of all, do away with student. Just do away with it. We're paying players now. I know that y'all don't want to call it pay for play. I know the NCAA has bylaws against pay for play, but that's what we're doing. Okay? We're paying you for a marketing opportunity because you can play. We're not picking Johnny Rose, Ida Tarbell, Cornelius McGillicuddy to stand in front of a camera and shill for Joe Duffy Ford. That's not what we're doing. We're paying for Caitlin Clark. We're paying for Quinn Ewers. We're paying for Quinshawn Judkins, Jeremiah Smith to speak on behalf of Joe Duffy Ford because they are stars. And they are stars because they are stars on the field of play. That ain't got nothing to do with going to school. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Nothing at all about going to school is in there. Okay? I realize that's offensive to some of y'all, but that is the way of the world. I don't argue strategy. I just take it as it is, and I find the market inefficiency, and I exploit it. That's called capitalism. That's where we live. Okay? So I got a problem on the front end of College Sports Tomorrow calling their Super League College Student Football League, probably because the acronym sounds cool to them. CSFL. Nah, dog. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. That's not gonna. No, nobody wants that. What they also don't want is for you to split all 136 FBS teams, which is what it's going to be in 2025, into 2 divisions. They propose having 72 programs, basically what was the Power 5 in the first division, and then having the group of 8 is what they're calling it in the second division. Okay? And then the real abomination here is they've created 6 geographic divisions for these 72 teams to play in. And I got to tell y'all, man, you see this graphic, you're just going to get mad. I mean, I'll give you an example here of what is in the Power 12 conference, as they called it, which is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So in the East Division, Boston College, Maryland, Navy, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, and Virginia. Hell, there's only one team in there we care about. And I think you know which one it is. Let me give you a clue. It ain't Navy. The Mid-East Division, Cincinnati, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, Virginia, West Virginia. Again, there's one team in there that we care about. And it ain't Cincinnati. The Great Lakes Division. I'm sorry, what? Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, Purdue. One team we care about. It ain't Northwestern. Okay? Midwest Division. Iowa, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Hell, there might be 2 teams in there, 3 teams in there we care about. Iowa State kind of looking out. Minnesota kind of looking out. Okay? In the Carolinas division, Clemson, Duke, NC State, North Carolina, South Carolina, Wake Forest. No! What is this? Mid-South. What are we, wrestling now? Is JR on the call? Because I would like to know why I am not doing the play-by-play or the color for the Mid-South division. All of my wrestling heels stand up. Yes, I am a wrestling heel. I'm not a face. Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Louisville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Louisville? Louisville and basically what is the SEC West? Like, what is this? We're not Southeast. Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Miami, Central Florida. Okay. What is Georgia Tech doing here? Oh, they happen to be in Atlanta. We have to include them. The South Division. LSU, Arkansas, Houston, Memphis, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Just call it the Southwest Conference. What is this? The Plains. Guys, we don't have the Plains out here, but we got Colorado, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. I feel insulted. I feel so insulted right here. I know it's Great Plains and whatnot, but who is it? Who do you expect us to? There's no. What the hell is Colorado and Kansas State? What is this? Then we got the Texas. The state of Texas gets its own damn division? Of course it does. Of course it does. As if they heads ain't already big enough. Baylor, Southern Methodist, Texas Christian, Texas A&M, and Tech. I'm sorry? Y'all ain't gonna put no North Texas in there? Huh? They too good for you? They not good enough. They not good enough? What about Abilene Christian? What about Tarleton State? They ain't in the Mountain West. They in the Pac-12. That's where they want to be. What are we doing with this? And then we got the Southwest, which has got Arizona, Arizona State, California, Stanford, UCLA, and USC. You could have called it what? California, Arizona, but that's too wordy for you, so you go Southwest. Get out of here. West, BYU, Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, Washington, Washington State. So you y'all, did y'all get tired? Did y'all get tired while you were trying to group these 72 teams into a Power 12? Get the hell out of here, man. And you'll notice that ain't nobody from the MAC, ain't nobody from the Mountain West, ain't nobody from Conference USA, ain't nobody from the American on down in the Power 12. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to drop the rest of us plebes, us serfs, into the bottom division. And then, oh my God, they're going to ask us all to have relegation as a part of college football. I like relegation. I do. I like relegation in the English Premier League. I even like the idea of relegation in Major League Baseball. But I can tell you who don't. People that want to make money. People that have a vested interest in making money and like to bet on a sure thing. You know what's not a sure thing? Burnley going up to the EPL. You know what else is not a sure thing? Nottingham Forest going up to the EPL. You know what else is not a sure thing? Sunderland till I die. Going up to the EPL. Y'all know about Wrexham because Macklin and Ryan Reynolds told you about them. Otherwise, you don't care about no Wrexham. You don't care. You know what I'm saying? Who you care about? Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool. I can keep going here. But that's also how the EPL got started. The head of ITV went to Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and I forget the fourth one, but somebody in the chat hit me up. Let me know what it is. That fourth one is. But said, give me $1 million for your home games. I get to broadcast your home games for $1 million. And after that, they were like, you know what? That's some good money. We could do that. And then they added teams, and then they added teams, and then they added teams, and we get the Premier League. And then the Premier League is one of the great business sports ventures that has worked. Like, it needs to be studied because a lot of people try to throw it over the top of other sports. They just can't succeed. And in America, you're just not going to be able to do that. There's a reason why ESPN, Fox, NBC, and CBS like the way the things are. And it ain't because the University of Tulsa can come into, I don't know, I guess it would be the Plains and crash the party because, again, in the Plains, Missouri had a down year. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? What is this? I think that the butthole is having a lot to say here, and we probably shouldn't be listening too much to him, but also we shouldn't laugh at him because if he wants to play stopgap, he can make this a problem. Think about what Congress is not doing to help with name, image, and likeness and the rampant, unregulated name, image, and like space, right? Like that's what we're dealing with right now. And you know what? There is no incentive for the butthole to unclench here. None. The brain, the heart, and the feet got to figure it out. Otherwise, it's just going to be a problem. Tottenham. Thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer got in there with the number 4. It was Tottenham. That's right. So I want y'all to think about that as we continue to talk through the show. I want to touch on the Pac-12 and the Mountain West race to 8 here before we get into the Pretenders and Contenders part of this, because this is a slow news week because the games that we're going to watch this weekend, and we will watch them, are not great. We got a rematch of the national championship last year in Michigan and Washington, and Michigan is just a 2.5-point favorite, but already we know what we think about Michigan and we know what we think about Washington. And right now it's more about, can Michigan not lose this game and keep themselves in the Big Ten title contention while we look around at like Oregon, Michigan State for Friday Night Football. So we got the Doug Zilla. That's just obnoxious. I just seen that. That's just obnoxious. Stop, knock that off, dog. Like knock that off. All right. If you watch the live replay, you'll see what's going on there. But that's obnoxious. Come on here, dog. Like I try to turn down the moderator on this thing, and then I see stuff like this. Okay, fine. Couldn't be that bad, I guess. Now you're gonna have other people doing just that. You know what? Fine, do it. I don't care. See if I care. Don't cuss on the show. Don't cuss in the comments. Kids, watch the show. Do not make me go in there and find you and remove you. That's not what you want. If I sound like the 3rd grade teacher right now, it's because I'm not joking. Don't do it. Okay? Somebody gonna do it, and I'm gonna be very loud about who did it. All right. So we have Pac-12, Mountain West giving a bit of movement here. So the Pac-12 had 2 teams at the start of this year. Washington State and Oregon State. Basically, the leftovers from the Pac-12 didn't get invited to the Big Ten or the ACC. Okay, or the Big 12. So what did they do? They went to try to go pillage through the other group of 5 team conferences to get teams to fill out to 8 teams. Why 8? Because that is the number for which you have to be recognized as a conference that could have a team selected for the college football playoff. 8 teams. I think when they made this up, they didn't think that they were ever going to get below 8 teams. And then, well, the butthole decided to become a stopgap. And it was the Pac-12 because George Kliavkoff didn't take the money in hand and was left without a conference. Bungled just to the highest order. Everybody says the same thing. How did you let this happen? He overplayed his hand. That's how. Like he got Teddy KGB'd. And now look, the Pac-12 is trying to rebuild into something that is like a zombie league. So now we're up to Washington State, Oregon State, Fresno State, Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, Utah State, and now Gonzaga, which is a really interesting ad because Gonzaga does not have a football team. Not one that would play in the Pac-12, but it does get you to a 7th school, which is a great way of finding out what the market inefficiency is, seeing the strategy, and exploiting it. That's what is happening here, and I applaud the move because, damn, Gonzaga was this close, we thought, to perhaps joining the Big 12 as a basketball-only member, which would make the strongest basketball conference in America stronger. I know that the Big 10, the Big East got things to say about that, but you understand what I mean here, right? It's really good addition no matter who would get Gonzaga. But you were able to add them, probably pay them something like a good share to not have a football team, and you have other members that are fine with this. Also, other members that all have state in the title. Changed it from Pac-12 to land grant U. I know that you have the Pac-12 because, branding and whatnot, but I'm here to tell y'all, private equity folks, when you buy things for the brand and you don't have any of the soul that built the brand, people know this, okay? So you're going to have to really be careful about how you be talking about Pac-12, okay? On top of that, do we think that any of these teams is good enough to make the college football playoff? Washington State right now feels like it. Until they got absolutely stomped out by Boise State, they felt really good about it. Boise State feels like it. Everybody else, not right now. And this is a conference that wants to come back online in 2026. Meanwhile, the Mountain West Conference has been raided and trying to add. So we see Fresno State, Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, Utah State, all bolt from the Mountain West to join the Pac-12, which for right now feels like the same league, right? Both just one big Mountain West conference, if you will. But the Mountain West right now keeps UNLV, has Air Force, Wyoming, San Jose State, New Mexico, Nevada, UTEP, and Hawaii only in football. So what we see here is who can get to number 8 quickest. Because as soon as you get to 8, you get to throw your hat in the ring in 2026. And if we go to 16 teams, you're probably going to get one of those teams in being your conference champ. I'm very curious to find out who becomes that 8th team and which league they join. Because there was a lot of movement the last couple of days with, or even the last week, reaffirming that you're going to stay in the league or waffling about it. Like UNLV went back and forth about it before they decided to stay in the Mountain West. Given that UNLV is having a moment, they've been ranked in the top 25 this past week for the first time since they joined FBS in 1978. And they are off to their best start, like, ever, pretty much, you know? I'm curious to find out if they start to look around and do what Colorado did last year, which is we're at a high water mark. Let's see who wants us more. And if it's the Mountain West, it's the Mountain West. However, you could swing the balance of power to the Pac-12 just by leaving the Mountain West. Just be that 8th team, be lauded as a Pac-12 team in Vegas at a place that still remembers the Pac-12. It feels like a really good move if that was something that they were interested in doing. I don't know that New Mexico moves the needle here. I don't know that UTEP moves the needle here, although they did come from Conference USA. Or was it the American? Like, they were in Conference USA at one point, but now that's the other thing about realignment, dog. We having a hard time keeping track of this even now, and I'm a professional. I have to tell you, when I learned last week that Miami and Cal was going to be the game day set, I'm going, this is perfect because this is what college football has become. We're going to Berkeley for the first time because it's an ACC game that features a good Cal team and an undefeated Miami team, which would normally be the kind of non-conference fair that everybody be like, oh, yeah, that's cute. I like that. You know, that's worthwhile. But that's a conference game now, which just feels weird. Just like Ohio State, Oregon will be next week. Just like Kansas State, Colorado, which once was, will be again next week. And on we go down the line. So let's do a little bit of pretenders and contenders. And I want to start with this by saying Oklahoma does not feel like a contender. Not to me, not to you, not to anybody. Feels like a team that is fortunate to be 4-1 and played some of its best football defensively in a loss. Okay? It also feels like OU's wide receiving core is non-existent. Matter of fact, throwing the football at Oklahoma feels like playing jackpot against Cthulhu. You're not going to win too many against all them tentacles. Although Michael Hawkins is out here throwing life and body to the wind, just going, I'm getting into this end zone, which is great. And then the defense that I kept calling elite decided to give up its first 250 yards. Auburn hadn't had a dude throw for 250 yards since Hugh Freeze got there. Hugh Freeze might not be at Auburn next year. That's how bad Auburn is. Peyton Thorne went for 267 on Oklahoma. Now, did Kip Lewis have the pick six to return it to the house to win the game? Hell yeah, he did. But I was also watching, particularly at corner, We's getting cooked. Jarquez Hunter, who couldn't move the ball against Arkansas, running up and down on us. And then Oklahoma ain't got no offense. We don't even have a running back room that we trust right now. Like, we can't run the ball and we can't throw the ball. It's like, please stay out of the defensive way. So, pretender for the time being. They beat Texas. Y'all might hear me change my tune, right? Given what we think about Texas. But I've already done that segment. I'll do it again later on. But want to get out in front of that and just tell you, Texas got more to lose in that game than Oklahoma this year. Precisely because Oklahoma's already got a loss, right? I think a win certainly put them back in the 12-team conversation as a contender. But that's an if right now based on what we have seen. Continuing down the line, Ohio State, contender. We know why, right? They went into the portal. They came out with players. And as much as people want to get upset and mad about how much money was spent on the roster and the staff, you know who ain't mad about it? Ohio State. They don't give a damn what you got to say about them. All they want to do is beat Michigan and win the national championship. Back to, if you had the opportunity as the 1 seed or the 5 or the 4 seed to be like, hey, I want to play Boise State, I think Ohio State would do it. Because for them, it ain't about being the best. It's about, being the best ever. It's about being the best right now. The same way that Michigan's like, we don't care that we was cheating last year. We got the national championship, and we beat everybody 15-0. Nobody turning down anything but they call her in Ann Arbor, and that's how Ohio State's getting down. Oregon feels, once again, like a contender after a stupidly slow start. Penn State, not sure, dog. Not sure. Not going to know much about them until they play somebody that we think is good, like USC in a week from now, or Oregon, or Ohio State. Okay? I'm reserving because they've looked great, and then they go get beat by a drum by somebody we think is a contender. And then you got a whole list of folks that really, I don't think are going to be in this conversation as pretender or contender in 3 weeks' time, because we're going to have an answer there. Rutgers, Indiana, Nebraska, Michigan, and USC. Michigan is here because they're still winning despite not having a passing game, and if they ever find a passing game, maybe they are a real contender. But right now, I don't know that y'all trust Alex Orji to throw the football any more than I trust Seth Luttrell to call a great play that's explosive for Michael Hawkins Jr. I just don't see it. Nebraska gets an opportunity to get back on the good foot with a win against Rutgers this week, because Rutgers is undefeated. And Rutgers fans, all three of them, have been on my head going, why you rank us? Y'all made me look bad a couple of years ago anyway, because I was standing on a table for y'all in like 2021, 2022, somewhere in there, because y'all got off to a really great start, and then you damn near beat Michigan but didn't get it done, and then you turned back into a pumpkin. I'm not doing that no more. You're going to have to force me to put you into a top 25. You're going to have to force me. You're going to have to keep winning, because I was forced by Indiana to do it. We're getting to the part of the season where we're finally starting to run out of good teams, so we got to start looking at who could be good, or who we expect to be good, or who's actually good. And Indiana, I'm not sure. I know that Kurt Signetti is not afraid to say anything. If we're talking about pro wrestling, he was asked about going to UCLA before they went down and stomped out. Before they go play UCLA, and he said, "We're going to an old stadium to kick somebody's ass." He has things to say, like, he said, "I win, Google me." He's right? He's won 124 games. He's lost 35. He's never had a losing season. He's also saying things like, "Well, I'm the head coach at Indiana. Purdue sucks, but so does Michigan and Ohio State." And I'm like, yo, whatever. Okay. And right now, his boys are playing like it. Curtis Rourke was the MAC Offensive Player of the Year last year, and he's showing why. And the dudes that are showing out against the opponents that Indiana have played are mostly coming from James Madison with him. I'm also looking at the Nebraska of it all, because Colorado might be good. We'll have a great answer to that question in a week's time, and we should probably talk about them getting into the top 25 if they get a win against Kansas State, which is only going to bolster Nebraska's argument for being in the top 25 too, because they beat Colorado like a drum. Did they lose to Illinois? Yeah. It's the way they lost to Illinois. Basically spit up on themselves in the fourth quarter and in overtime. They beat Purdue so badly that Graham Harrell got fired. Okay? And now they get Rutgers. They beat Rutgers. You're going to hear, once again, the loud noise of somebody going, I think Nebraska might be good, guys. Until they play Ohio State, in which case we think they're going to lose, but that couldn't stop them. That might not stop them, I should say, from a 10-win season, which would be remarkable for Nebraska, and they might actually get a sympathy vote to get into the college football playoff based on a 10-win season, because they might be the third or fourth best team in the Big Ten, depending on what happens in the SEC. It's not hard to see them getting in. I fully expect we will be here talking about the many ways that this season can go, even into the middle of November. And that is the reason that I am really in love with the college football playoff. Like, for the first time in my life, I get to talk about college football being played from August through December into the middle of January in a real way. I'm not talking about the Gasparilla Bowl. I'm not talking about the Gator Bowl. I'm not talking about the Independence Bowl. I'm going to be talking about playoff football that matters, the way that NFL folks get to talk about playoff football that matters. And the only thing that I want us to do is to not laugh when the butthole says, hey, dog, I think I should be in charge. Feet, heart, brain, consider what is being said. Consider that we need everybody to function as they function. and that perhaps we are greater than the sum of our parts put together. All right, that is going to do it for tonight's live show of the #1 college football show with me, RJ Young. If you like the show, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I would love to get to 112,000 subscribers before we get to Saturday night's live show, which is when we will be back here live. Talk a little bit to Quincy Avery, QB takeover later in the week. And then we're going to be getting to football quick, fast, in a hurry. All right, that's it for me. Doses.